In this video, I'm going to make Saryn one of the most devastating units to ever be used in Warframe. What's good, folks? It's WARFRAME here with literally the most broken Saryn synergy in the game. I'm pretty sure some of you have heard about the Toxic Lash and Xata's Whisper combo, but I'm going to show you how to make this combo scale quadratically. Toxic Lash and Xata's Whisper are two very powerful abilities that work the same but have a few key differences. But in this case, you can make them synergize with one another to absolutely demolish your opponents. Please pay attention, and if you're lost or looking to go back over a subject, I will have timestamps for each topic. Let's start by explaining the two abilities. Xata's Whisper Helmet ability from Zaku is a unique ability where it imbues your weapons with void damage, and the damage counts as a separate instance of damage and does not combine with modded elements. It scales off power strength and a percentage of your weapon's total damage, meaning it is affected by base damage, elemental damage, crit damage, and faction damage mods. Faction damage mods apply to your weapon and multiply the damage bonus of Xata a second time, and this causes Xata's Whisper to double dip, meaning dealing 2 times the damage. The unique effect that it provides us is that it's a bullet attractor, like Mag's Bubble, and it has similar effects. The shots will mark an area and force all remaining shots to always be redirected to the area that was shot first, no matter where you shoot into the bubble afterwards. For example, if you land a headshot, first proccing the void bubble, the whole bullet attractor bubble is then turned into a huge headshot marker. When you shoot a projectile shot into the bubble, it will orbit around the enemy. However, hit scan bullets do not orbit the enemy. Now let's talk about Toxic Lash. This ability imbues all weapons with toxin damage, which also counts as a separate instance of damage that procs toxin, and that toxin will then continue to deal damage over time. Toxic Lash scales of power strength and your weapon's damage, meaning base damage, crit damage, elemental mods, especially toxin damage elemental mods, and lastly, faction damage mods. However, faction damage works differently on Toxic Lash. Faction damage mods apply to your weapon first, furthermore multiplying the damage done with Toxic Lash to then multiply the toxin damage over time a third time, effectively triple dipping in damage. You see where we're going with this? And let's not forget to mention that Toxic Lash is stronger when used with a melee. The great thing about this combo is the two abilities proc each other. So essentially what's happening here is that we're able to make Saryn scale quadratically with this combo, using AoE effects. Basically what this means is that the damage scales with the number of enemies. Think of it like this: if an attack hits 2 enemies, you'll do 4 times 2 to the power of 2 times the damage compared to only hitting 1 enemy. Same interaction when hitting 3 enemies will do 9 times 3 to the power of 2 times the damage. So with one shot, you're getting an additional hit with both Xata and Toxic Lash. These additional hits help each other. Xata will proc Toxic Lash to then have Toxic Lash proc Xata till the enemy dies. It's a vicious cycle, but this doesn't mean you can't use this with single target builds. You absolutely can, and this loadout is so versatile it can be taken to 90% of the content. Another unique cool trick for tankier opponents: when Saryn has both of these buffs active, you proc a void bubble onto the enemy, and that same enemy tries to shoot back at you, the Xata bubble will redirect shots back to them and applies additional toxin procs back to the attacker. That's right, it's pretty disgusting. And now the weapon synergy. There are 3 weapons that synergize brilliantly with this combo, and that's the Kuva Ogris using the Nightwatch Napalm mod, the Proboscis Cernos, and the Bubonico's alternate fire. Let's go over why these 3 are so busted with this build. Nightwatch Napalm from Kuva Ogris is an augment that leaves a patch of fire that deals damage over time in the surrounding area, and procs heat, which then also deals damage over time on the affected targets. This patch of fire scales off 30% of your weapon's modded damage, and the heat damage over time scales off the heat mod equipped on your weapon. and this has a 68% chance to proc heat. And of course, the heat status effect Ignite is a 50% armor reduction, and the armor strip is multiplied by corrosive procs, effectively increasing your outgoing damage done to enemies. And then the Proboscis Cernos, aka the FPS killer bow. Not as potent as the Ogris, but just as deadly. Its shots spawn tendrils that pull in enemies and explode to deal damage, and the radial attack deals viral and modded elements, and procs all the modded elements. Little disclaimer with this weapon, don't spam too many shots, you will run out of ammo and tank your frames. Finally, the Bubonico, the budget version of the Synergy, because it has one massive boon that the others don't. It has infinite ammo. It is weaker than the two previously mentioned ones, but I can't showcase this build without mentioning the Bubonico. Its alternate fire does AoE viral damage and the modded elements, and you can spam it a lot more than the other ones. Pretty simple and devastating. And yes. Some may ask, hey, what about the Cedo? It can do the same things, right? Yes, but it's very inefficient at killing consistently, because you cannot control where the shots are going with the glaive alternate fire, and the damage just isn't there. But if you're stubborn, go for it. Alright, I hope people understood everything before they came to this section to just copy the build and complain it isn't working. If all is good, let's take a look at the Saryn and weapon builds. Looking at the Saryn, I did replace her 4th ability with Xata's Whisper. Why? Because her 4th ability doesn't do much in higher level content. For lower level content, it's amazing, but you're going to be using her 2nd ability to actually give you additional survivability. It cleanses you with status effects, gives you movement speed multiplier, diverts enemy fire, and when it explodes, even more toxin damage. That's pretty good. As you know, Synergy is Toxic Lash and Xata's Whisper, the key components to make this build work. In the aura, I have Brief Respite to convert energy spent into shields to refresh my shield gate, so I get that 1.3 seconds more consistently. And with one cast of her molt, I get all the shields back. But don't forget to equip your Decaying Dragon Key for this. Prime Sure-Footed for that knockdown and stagger resistance, because, you know, spending less time on your butt is a huge DPS increase. Range is at 175% with Stretch and Augur Reach. Combining Brief and Reach will give you a lot of shields and even overshields back when you cast Molt. Rolling Guard for survivability and cleanses you of status effects, so if you combine one cast of Molt, Rolling Guard, your defenses are up and you can continue killing. If you get overwhelmed, you can use the Vazarin Focus School. Prime Continuity for the duration. This gives my Toxic Clash 69. Nice. Seconds of uptime, and Xata's Whisper 54 seconds of uptime. Now, you may be wondering, why do I have Venom Dose and Contagion Cloud here? Double augments. So Venom Dose will give you corrosive damage, meaning this works like a mod. And this augment also helps buff Toxic Lash because it counts as a toxin mod on your weapon. Yes. And with the duration, we have an uptime of 62 seconds. Contagion Cloud is Toxic Lash's augment. When you kill enemies, you leave a cloud of toxin that deals damage within that area. Scales with range, power strength, and even more damage when it's used with a melee. For Arcanes, I have Molt augmented for additional power strength when we kill, and we're going to be killing so many enemies. So once you hit that 250 stacks, that will give you that 60% power strength increase. Basically buffing your Venom Dose, Spores, Toxic Lash, and Xata's Whisper damage output. Prime Flow for that large energy pool, because you're not going to be worrying about efficiency as much. You're going to be killing a lot of enemies, they're going to drop orbs, pick up orbs, energy is going to proc, it's going to sustain you pretty well. In terms of Archon shards, I highly suggest getting 2 casting speed Amber shards, basically emulating natural talent, and the rest can be red shards for power strength, because why not? Now we're on to the Kuva Ogris. My Kuva Ogris is bonus toxin, and we're going to be running double elements, so no problem. For my base damage, I do have Heavy Caliber and Merciless. Why Heavy Caliber? Just for that negative accuracy, just to give me that spread on the projectiles. There are no crit mods, just raw elemental damage and status duration. Galvanize for the multi-shot. Faction mod, depends on what faction you want. Prime Firestorm, increase the blast radius and the effect of Night Watch Napalm. I have modded it for Gas. Gas is going to be our main AoE damage proc, which will help retrigger Xata Toxic Lash and clear a bunch of enemies within the area, which works really well with our quadratic scaling. Continuous Misery helps the status duration of Nightwatch Napalm and any other status effects, paired up with Saryn's passive, which increases the duration of status effects. Vigilante Armaments or any other mutation mod is a must here. Now, if you don't have any problems with Continuous Misery, which I don't either, you can absolutely swap it up for Prime Fast Hands for that additional reload speed, bringing down this reload speed to 1.1, which is not much, but still, it's useful. And some might be asking, hey, why not Deadhead? Because gas is an AoE. Unfortunately, it's not going to proc. Why? Because we have a lot of status effects going on here. We got Xata, Toxin Clouds, Heat, and even our Spores. So those are going to be aiding our damage to the next level, which will not work as a Deadhead proc. So Primary Merciless is your best in slot because that reload speed is also going to be useful. And taking a look at the Proboscis Cernos build, it is pretty much the same. No need for crits. It is just gas and electric in this case. The AoE is going to proc our gas procs and electric procs, so it's going to CC enemies. You can use heat if you want, but electric is just going to be a lot better in terms of crowd control and will also aid you in survivability. Pretty much the same concept. Firestorm does not increase the length of your tendrils, but increases the blast radius when it finally decides to explode. And finally, the Bubonico build. Again, same concept. The alternate fire does not have good crits. Pretty much the same concept. Gas and electric. And there's no point going any other elemental combo. This is your best in slot right here. If you're going to grab another Bubonico, I suggest running full 90% and of course the Prime Charge Shell as your final one. Here's another brilliant synergy for you. It is using the Amalgam Argonak Metal Auger with a dagger. This means it will have Dagger's armor strip. And when you pair this up with Contagion Cloud and Exotic Contagion and the Xata with Toxic Lash combo, it's quite devastating. Contagion will proc the gas, Armor Strip, and Xata's Whisper. So this is a great alternative if you do not want to go the Kuva Ogris or any other AoE primary route. You just need to have an Argonak. You doesn't even need a Forma. Equip the Amalgam Argonak Metal Auger and any other utility mod. Here I have Amalgam Serration for that increased sprint speed and some random mods which don't really matter. And I suggest running Primary Dexterity for the combo duration. That's it. Any other secondary you want, just make sure it has Dexterity. And the Balla here. It is built from the Balla, Pei, and Varjeet 2Jai, giving you a bunch of crits and decent amount of attack speed. The build, very simple. Condition Overload for the base damage, Blood Rush for the crit chance, Organ Shatter for the crit damage, the two elemental mods to form gas, Prime Reach for the range so you can hit more targets faster, and lastly your faction mod. As you can see, I did not have an attack speed mod because we have pretty decent attack speed, and I'm pairing that up with Arcane Strike, so saving me an entire slot. Well, that has been it from this video. Hopefully you enjoyed and learned something from this video. And if you did, please feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, stay tuned for more, and as always, peace. Alright, they're spawning now. Has Breach Surge? What are the numbers?
Oh my god. Oh my god. So surplus scaling essentially depending on enemies and armor rating as well, right? Number of enemies and armor rating?
Yeah. Alright. Okay, that was a one shot with barely any stacks.
400k highest damage number yet. Okay. Wow. Yeah, man. This is...
They don't even last, man.
Yeah, because like I'm not seeing damage numbers half the time.
Because that was just a one shot and no surge spark
yeah,
spread.
I see. Yeah, they just fucking died, man.
Damn.
Alright.
Alright, he's here. You breach surge?
Yes, they are ready.
Yeah, he's just... That DOT.
Goodbye.
Yeah, the DOT just fucked him up.
Goodbye, I guess.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Alright, let's bounce. Within 5 minutes, we got 612 kills. 625 kills. So that's a lot of kills per minute. And this was with me barely shooting as much, just waiting for your breach surge to like hit enemies.
Breach surge, yeah.
So
yeah. Just chill, man. What the fuck?